And it's like, no, what we need to be talking about is the systemic takeover of our government by corporate special interests. That is it. There is nothing else.
Right. Well, because until that is dealt with, we're not living in a democracy, right? Like we have this completely malfunctioned republic
Love you, Linda. Thank you so much.
Because we see it. Because if you live in a functioning democracy, right, then you would have policy that reflects the will of the majority. Yep. We clearly do not have that. Therefore, it's a de facto non-functioning republic. And so when we're living in that, it's very, very difficult for people to have any sense of control over the situation. Mm-hmm. And it's not very inspired. And, you know, we do the best that we can. But, you know, most people don't get involved because they don't think it matters.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't blame them because they're, you know, the working class is so beat up in this country. You know, if you're working dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours a week, when you get even a moment to breathe, you wanna space out, you wanna relax, you want to, you know, take a load off, you want to drift away, you want to, you know, engage in a little bit of self-care. It's just, you know, who has time to even open the news, you know, to the extent that they're, you know, that anybody's reporting on anything anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's by design, right? Like, so if people are struggling and working 3 jobs in order to live, they're not going to be able to be involved politically. They're not going to be involved in different actions and things that are organizing because they're just trying to get by. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the media being completely just like stenographers of power. And so with all of that, it's like this recipe for this completely just, I mean, everybody is very disgruntled and ignorant, and it's just going to reach a boiling point. And I think that, you know, I've always said it, when you are such a violent country everywhere in the world, that it shocks me when people are surprised that we're seeing so much violence here, because to me, it's a matter of time and it's only going to get worse. If you can't be the world police and be this complete military thing and not expect violence at home like this. I just don't see how you could have it both ways.
Double K, thank you as always. We really love you, and it really means a lot to our channel. Smash that like button, get this out here. We are speaking to Christian Sorensen of the Eisenhower Media Network. He did serve in the Middle East. All right, so look, let's get into Ukraine. Obviously, this is something that, you know, we kind of saw this coming from the very beginning. We tried to have a very objective lens on it. Most people don't actually know where a starting point is for a war. They just assume that Putin woke up one day and decided to invade Ukraine.
Right. Nothing. We didn't do anything wrong.
Well, look,
nothing to see here.
If you constantly talk for years and years about how Putin really put, you know, Trump into the White House, it's very easily to see how the millions, and I mean millions of people who are psychologically damaged by Donald Trump getting into the White House, they are willing to believe just about anything regarding what actually did or did not happen. So he becomes public enemy number one, yet the entire time people want to forget about Crimea in 2014. It's like nothing ultimately comes to pass unless there is something that is pushing it in that direction. Everyone knows that NATO is basically the United States and those that are part of it. And so right now, we are seeing the same pattern as Iraq. It is the exact same formula. It is one of those things where you're hearing from whoever it is. It could be somebody as, you know, for the most part, I mean, let's be fair. The one thing that Trump managed to do as president is get a lot of the neocons out of the Republican Party. They just found their way to the Democratic Party and they welcome them with open arms. Yep. So whether it is Bill Kristol, whether it is, of course, the worst scumbag of them all, John Bolton, or Mike Pompeo, if you could explain to the American people who are watching this and will watch this, how these two wars, however different they may seem, because we went into Iraq and we are proxy supporting what's happening in Ukraine, that the intention is forever war. There is never an intent to end this.
No.
The only time a war genuinely really ends is if there's another one around the corner that they can go take on.
And then they just stay and occupy the other one.
Stay and occupy.
Right.
So why do you think it is that so many Americans can't see that the war in Ukraine could have easily ended like that? And the reason it's still going right now is because when you have, for starters, trillions in rich natural resources in Western Ukraine, which exist, You have a titanic amount of control that is being fought for right now when it comes to the energy system of the world. You could look at Nord Stream, you could look at a lot of these things. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of countries that have grown tired of America's bullshit, and they're trying to find a way out of it.
America's grown tired of America's bullshit.
Yeah. Why do you think the average American is just so naive as to what's going on in Ukraine and how they truly haven't learned anything from Iraq, Afghanistan, and the like?
So, like you alluded to, the military-industrial complex, which is the blend of big business and the military establishment wrapped up in nationalism, comes before the wars. We've had this since World War II. The wars come and go, the military-industrial complex stays. If we understand anything from tonight, that is it. The military-industrial complex comes before the wars. The wars are a natural result of this blend of big business and military establishment. So let's look at what Trump did, the Trump administration, the actions he took against Russia, because we are told that everything from, Trump was a puppet of Moscow and they installed him in the White House, which is absurd, to the more palatable Trump, and Putin, they're just cozy, they're good buddies, that type of thing. So let's look at the facts. The Trump administration, or the U.S. military during the Trump administration, and a lot of this requires White House approval, added more U.S. troops in Eastern Europe, including up to Russia's borders, built up U.S. military infrastructure in every single Eastern European country, except for Belarus, sold weapons to every single Eastern European country, except for Belarus, did military exercises in the Barents Sea, sanctioned senior Russian officials. That definitely requires White House approval. Did all kinds of missile tests, okay, not just in Europe, but here in the United States. We always flip out, and corporate media always goes berserk when North Korea launches a missile. We do that all the time out of Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. We pulled out of arms treaties. The Open Skies Treaty we left in 2020, which was designed to foster a little bit of transparency regarding our activities in our respective countries. In 2020, we pulled out of that. A few years earlier, we got out of the INF Treaty, which was basically designed to prevent a certain class of ground launcher from being deployed, regarding a ground launcher for nuclear weapons. We further militarized space. That happened across the Clinton administration, Bush Jr. administration, Obama, and then with Trump, and again through Biden. Continued all that. Ramped up spending for nuclear weapons. That required White House approval. That happened during the Trump administration. Armed and trained Ukraine. That happened during the Trump administration. Bombed Syria and even killed Russian troops in one of the bombings of Syria. The U.S. government did it. And so, the list goes on and on. We invested more money in hypersonic weaponry, pretending that the Chinese and the Russians were somehow ahead of us in that field. It goes on and on.
They're ahead of us in infrastructure.
That's the thing.
Not in military infrastructure. I was going to
say, things that actually matter, that they're ahead of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Trump also, he sanctioned Russian energy firms. He sanctioned firms that were involved in building Nord Stream pipelines and putting the final touches on those. The list goes on and on. So I'm rambling here, but the point is that if anybody looks at the facts, the Trump administration was aggressive, belligerent toward Moscow, period, full stop. Okay. So all of this militarization of Eastern Europe has been going on for decades. Now, if you're sitting in Moscow, you are not an irrational actor. You are not a madman. You have a chain of command like any other country. We might not agree with all of your policies, foreign and domestic, but you're still a regional power. And you see this. You take note. You know what's going on. You understand, as Beijing understands, the nature of the U.S. military-industrial complex. They see what's going on. And it's, at every step of the way, they also say, hey, maybe we should come to an agreement on weapons in space. Beijing put out a proposal a few years ago. Moscow said, hey, we'll sign it. Washington ignored it. Or they'll say, hey, cyberspace is getting a little chippy. Maybe we should come up with an international agreement banning certain weapons in cyberspace. Now, the position in Washington, D.C. is, well, we right now are ahead in these tools, ahead in these capabilities. So why would we negotiate from this position when we are kicking keister in that category? And so diplomacy is thrown away and militancy is embraced. And what we're seeing in Ukraine is the direct result of a refusal to even acknowledge that Moscow has genuine security concerns regarding the U.S. militarization of Eastern Europe that has occurred over decades across blue and red administrations. And it's an absolute tragedy, and the war needs to come to an end yesterday.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.